Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a few things you'll want to know about what's been happening in immigration news. I also want to provide some tips about getting a visitor visa. Do you need a sponsor? I wanted to talk more about the Citizenship Act that I've talked about previously. More specifically, the part that talks about criminal behavior and how that might impact your immigration journey. My name is Mejer. I'm an immigration attorney and an immigrant. I came to the US as a child. We overstayed our visas, and I was lucky enough to get a green card through amnesty. I had to do that because the attorney my parents hired didn't do a darn thing. I don't want your immigration journey to be as long or as stressful as mine was, and that's why I do what I do. I share information about immigration to help make a confusing, complex, and slow system a little easier to understand. If there's something you'd like to know about, please post it below in the comments and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can see our videos when we post them. Now, let's talk about how to get a visitor visa. We recently had a viewer on YouTube ask us about having their parents come to the US for a visit. Monica Raj commented, "Hello, I'm currently on asylum EAD, that's employment authorization document. Can I invite my parents to the USA on visitor's visa based on my paychecks and invitation letter from my employer or my office?" During this show, I'm only going to talk about a B1, B2 visa. These are often called visitor visas. They are also known as non-immigrant visas because your intention presumably is only to come visit to the US, not to stay here permanently. It's to return to your home country. As a reminder, in June of 2020, processing of visitor visas and all routine visa services ended due to COVID in foreign consulates and embassies. Operations have now resumed depending on local conditions and local resources. So not all embassies are open, but some are already open, and others we hope will be open soon. The priority is on visas for families of citizens and green card holders, and each embassy and consulate is operating based on their local ordinances. I will put a link below so you can check your local office, as we can't know what is happening with each consulate on a daily basis. So just check below. It's at usembassy.gov. People say B1, B2 because they grant the same benefit, allowing you to come to the US, but for different purposes. A B1 visa is a business visa, and a B2 is a visitor visa. Both the B1 and B2 visa allow you to remain in the US for up to 180 days. You can apply for an extension for either, but this takes a while to process, so be mindful when you apply. You may not get an answer before your allowed period expires. When either the B1 or B2 visa, you must still be admissible to the US. That means you are not guaranteed entry just because you have a visa. If you apply for a visa, were approved for a visa, then were convicted of a crime, you might be denied entry. You will need to have an interview at your local US consulate or embassy to be granted the visa. Sometimes things in your past can keep you from being approved for a visitor visa, either business or tourist, or from entering the US. Some things that might keep you out of the US are drug addiction or convictions, having been deported from the US previously, being convicted of violent crimes, or several other categories. If you think you might have something in your background that would keep you from entering the US, I suggest you talk to an immigration attorney as soon as possible. Neither the B1 nor B2 visa give you work authorization in the US. That may be confusing since the B1 visa is for business purposes. But when you are granted a B1 visa, you are working for a foreign company for a limited time. An example might be to attend a business meeting. In fact, those who enter the US on a B1 visa may consult with business associates, attend a scientific, education, professional, or business convention or conference, settle an estate, negotiate a contract. These are things you can do on a tourist visa. Obviously, tourism, go, vacation, holiday, visit with friends or relatives, get medical treatment, participate in social events hosted by fraternal, social, or service organizations. Participation by amateurs in musical, sports, or similar events or contests, if not being paid for participating. Enrollment in short recreational course of study, not for credit towards a degree. For example, 2-day cooking class while on vacation. These are some examples of activities that require different categories of visas and cannot be done while on a visitor visa. Study or enroll in a school. Employment for a U.S. employer. Paid performances or any professional performance before a paying audience. Arrival as a crew member on a ship or aircraft. Work as foreign press in radio, film, print journalism, or other information media. Permanent resident in the United States. In March 2020, both the B1 and B2 visa fee is $160. Depending on your nationality, you may also need to pay a visa issuance fee. I will link to the State Department site below where you can check your individual circumstances. It's at travel.state.gov. Just look down at the bottom. If you come to the US under a B1 or B2 visa, you may be eligible to change your status, including getting work authorization or obtaining a green card. This can be very involved, and since you don't want to overstay your visa and be banned from the US, I highly recommend you talk to a qualified immigration attorney before you apply for anything. One thing to keep in mind, the US has become more strict about people saying they are visiting, but keep re-entering the US every few months and staying for the longest time that they can, think 180 days. Customs starts to think that you're planning on staying here permanently and may deny you entry. So you can't come here for 6 months, leave for a week, come back for another 4 months, leave for a week. If they see that most of your time is here in the United States, they might just not let you enter. If you are denied entry at an airport, you don't have very many options. An attorney cannot come and help you there, generally speaking. You must return to your country and try to clear up the problem from there. Sometimes, when you are sent away, you will be given a ban for a number of years. There is very little you can do to change this, so prepare in advance of any trip. So let's go back to Monica's question. Hello, I'm currently on asylum EAD. Can I invite my parents to USA on visit visa based on my paychecks and invitation letter from my employer or my office? That is a direct quote, what she said, without me cleaning it up. Monica's question suggests that you need a sponsor when you get a visitor visa. Is that true? A US visitor visa can either be self-sponsored or you have friends or family who agree to sponsor you. As I mentioned, applying for a visitor visa is relatively easy. However, to be granted one, they will look at two main things. One, general eligibility, including the purpose of your trip, having a clean background, and your intent to depart the US. You need to prove that you're coming temporarily to the US and you're returning to your country. That's why you need to have a round-trip ticket when you enter. The other thing they look for is for your financial health. I talked about the requirement for health insurance for someone coming to the US in another video, but tourists are exempt from this. What is meant by financial health? You must have enough funds to support your trip to the US. Things you might be able to use to prove you have sufficient funds could include bank statements, tax filings, pay stubs, proof of property that you own in your country. There is no official amount that you have to prove to support a visit, but I recommend providing you have a minimum of $5,000 per person as a good yardstick. If you have that, chances are you're not likely to have a problem. If you aren't financially well off, having a sponsor in the US, such as Monica showing her pay stubs, may help. The next thing Monica talks about is something that is sometimes called a letter of invitation. The letter of invitation would be best coming from the person who is sponsoring the tourist. So if Monica is saying she makes a sufficient amount of money to sponsor her parents, then the letter should come from her, not her employer. The government really wants to know that someone will not become a public charge if they come to the US. So you may include information letters saying you'll pay for their airfare, food, and lodging while they stay here in the United States. The problem with Monica's question is that she came to the US and filed for asylum. If she sponsors her parents, she's going to have to show that they aren't going to come to the US and also apply for asylum. Immigration is not likely to approve that visa. I would prefer that Monica's parents had a different reason to come to the US or a different sponsor. So it's not to say that it can't be done. It's just in Monica's situation, it's specific. And if they don't have a visa already, I don't know that the government's going to give them one because Monica is here and Monica is presently looking to stay here permanently. So once Monica becomes and wins her asylum case and becomes a lawful permanent resident, sure, that becomes a whole lot easier. But right now that she's filing for it, there's a real risk that the government could deny that application. So that's how to get a visitor visa and answers Monica's question. I hope you found that helpful. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate all your likes, comments, and shares. Again, if you found value in this, please share it with your friends who may also learn more about U.S. immigration by watching this. Until next time, stay healthy and be well.